All righty, it's 6:30. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Happy Monday, everyone. First board meeting of the new school year. Item 1B, approval of agenda and items for discussion.
I move that the agenda for the August 21st, 2023 regular meeting be approved and that policy be set aside, allowing item 1E, call to the public, be moved to item 1F.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Gillespie?
Yay.
Shaw? Yes. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Wandeel?
Yes.
All right, and I'm a yes, motion passes. Item 1C, approval of minutes from the July 17th, 2023 organizational meeting.
I move that the minutes of the July 17th, 2023 organizational meeting be approved.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, support by Mr. Costa. Any discussion?
Yeah, so I wanted to make a comment. So last month I noted a concern over the superintendent contract not being included in the board packet that was published to the community. And I did not see that get added, so I guess just following up on that request.
Ready? Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw? Yes. Mrs. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Wandeel?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, that motion passes. Item 1D, superintendent's report.
Yes, welcome to a new school year. I can tell you that 4 days in and knock on wood, like everything's going great. Lots of happy kids, lots of happy staff. We're moving along, transporting kids, we still have openings for bus drivers, including substitute bus drivers. Anybody interested? It's not as terrible as you think, so take a look at that. So all is well, and so other than that, Matt, if you come up and do a bond update report, please. Alrighty.
All right, good evening, board. I don't know where the summer went, but here we are. We got through about $15 million of the projects in a roughly 60-day window. And the buildings are looking fabulous so far. We have the Farms Collaboration Center. Farms and Oak Creek are not open yet, but the media staff are working to shelf all the books and get everything going over there. But a few pictures of that area. The staff are enjoying it and getting to use it soon. The kids are looking in the windows and excited about using it, which is super exciting. So there's those pictures, those seats in the middle, everyone seems to love. So if you get a chance, hop over there and sit in those. With those projects and with all the projects, I say that they are completed because we are able to use them. However, there's going to be a few weeks of punch list items that we're going to be going through with the architects and the principals, making lists of, touch up painting, areas that, are missing a few screws or ceiling tiles getting put back or things like that. So there's going to be a few weeks of that moving forward. Oak Creek, same thing with the Collaboration Center over there. Punch list is ongoing. Commons lighting replacement. Actually, I forgot to put that on there. End of September there. We've had a slight hiccup with the bracket that mounts those in the current truss that goes in the Commons area that over there. So we're working on that, and that contractor will be working on second shift after the kids get out. And my disclaimer for the chiller is still December. We're having long lead times on those right now, but it still says December. This building, chiller replacement also in December, waiting on that one. Exciting for the auditorium, however, the lighting has been replaced and upgraded to LED for the performing arts. And then we've replaced a bunch of seats in the auditorium, which was actually just used this past weekend for an event. Super comfortable and nice to get replaced there. We did save some of the old seats to use as replacement parts for the existing seats, which is helpful. And then the stage curtain will be replaced in September. High school collaboration center is complete, punch list is ongoing, commons lighting is replaced. The HVAC system, 30 units have been replaced and they are functional right now. Controls commissioning is ongoing. We are going through on second shift and making adjustments over the next 2 weeks. We have a few rooms out of whack, which we're adjusting. We're running reports every day to make sure that students are as comfortable as possible. Especially with the heat coming up on Thursday, the temperatures are increasing. The auditorium lighting was replaced over there to LED also, and then we're waiting on the stage curtain in September. High school paving is done. Replaced the bus loop, which was definitely needed, the pool lot, the staff lot, and reconfigured the high school drop-off lanes. The sidewalk is complete also, and they're restoring the dirt and grass around the sidewalk, which is a collaboration with Heartland Township. And then the front waterproofing and brick repair is completed. The stadium will see its first people this Thursday. So the scoreboard is done and functional and sound system. I was updating that on Friday. The track is laid and will be striped tomorrow and Wednesday. We are also going to do some parking lot repairs just because we had to use the Creekside High School parking lot for kind of a lay down area for the turf. So we have to do some repairs over there tomorrow and Thursday. Mr. Fitzgerald sent an email out to all the students and parents. And then the baseball softball complex is underway. We're putting in the restrooms. We put in the storage buildings, and that will be over the next probably month and a half getting that done. The soccer press box was delayed, so we're actually waiting until after the soccer season to put that in, just so that soccer can perform their games and use their field. That's all I have. Last thing is just kudos to Ryan Madden and Kelly and John, our two superintendents from Barton Mallow, and honestly, my staff, Becky Wallace and the maintenance staff and the custodians in the buildings. For you that walk the buildings a week or two prior to school, it was kind of a mess, and we turned around and really cleaned things up so that we could start school. So kudos to everybody involved. So any questions? All right, good deal.
As Matt said, I do have to thank everybody for all the work, and if you didn't hear what he said, we did $15 million worth of projects, all this, in basically less than 60 days, right? I think the actual number was 54. So when you look at that and you go, wow, we really did a lot, accomplished a lot, and we couldn't do it with all the great people working on those projects and everybody having a little flexibility. Going into the summer, what we said to Barton Mallow was we simply want our buildings functional come day one, and our buildings are functional and kids are there, staff is there, and we're moving forward. So again, thanks to everybody. So ends the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Item 1E, new hires.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a 2-year administrative contract to Jessica Gus, Dean of Students, starting with the 23-24 school year at the Step 1 salary track, pending verification of credentials and Public Acts 99, 83, and 189 requirements, if applicable.
All right, motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gillespie.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Yes. Mrs. Coleman? Yes. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mrs. Cloutier?
Yes.
And I am a yes. All right.
All right, good evening. I'm super excited to introduce you to Jessica Gus as our new Dean of Students at the high school. She's been a great addition. We stole her from Brighton And we are so excited to have her with us. One thing that stood out when we were doing the interview process is her instructional leadership. She really is a top-notch educator, teacher. She got experience teaching ELA, science, and math, which is outstanding. And she has hit the ground running. She's also going to be in charge of all of our state testing, which she's already super organized and doing a great job setting our kids up for success. So pleased to introduce you to Miss Jessica Gus.
I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'm very excited about joining the team at the high school and looking forward to a great year. Thank you.
I move that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probationary teaching contract to Shelby Lindsay for the 2023-24 school year at the step 5 MA salary track, pending verification of credentials and Public Acts 99, 83, and 189 requirements if applicable.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Costa. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Yes. Mrs. Coleman? Yes. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Claudia?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Promise this is my last hire of the school year. You guys have seen me a lot. This is Shelby Lindsay. We keep calling her Lindsay Shelby. So if I mess up, I apologize. But Shelby is taking over our extended resource room program. Emily Russell moved into a resource room position, and we had this opening. And again, all these interviews, I am just amazed by the talent we have coming to Heartland. We are super impressed. There's a calmness. So you walk in the room, it's just a calmness about her, and she's great with these kiddos, and she's also going to help us to run the peer-to-peer program. So welcome to Farms.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very excited to be part of the Heartland School District.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probationary teaching contract to Sarah Ruthig for the 2023-24 school year at step 2 BA salary track, pending verifications of credentials, Public Acts 99, 83, and 189 requirements if applicable.
Motion by Mr. Costa, support by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Yes. Mrs. Coleman? Yes. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Claudia?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Congratulations, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to introduce you to Miss Sarah Ruthig. Sarah is a 2016 Heartland grad, so we're excited to welcome her back. She attended Grand Valley State University and then actually taught for a year down in South Carolina. Did an outstanding job. I talked to her principal down there, and she had nothing but outstanding things to say about Sarah in her first year of teaching down there. She moved back here to be with family, and she actually reached out to us before we even had an opening. And she said, I want to teach at Heartland. I want to be at Heartland. And so we actually talked to her about some long-term sub opportunities, and a position opened up. And so she interviewed and did a great job. And she started for us teaching ELA 9 and 10. And just doing a really phenomenal job. She's a go-getter, and I think you're going to really enjoy her here at Heartland High School again. Sarah Ruthig.
I wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity to be here, and I'm so excited to be an Eagle again.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, offers a probationary teaching contract to Michael Zelinski for the 2023-24 school year at the step 10 BA plus 30 salary track, pending verification of credentials and Public Acts 99, 83, and 189 requirements, if applicable. Motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Bogalesky?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw? Yes. Mrs. Coleman? Yes. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Clavio?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Congrats.
All right, last one. Excited to welcome Mike Zelinski to Heartland High School. We had the construction trades position open, and we searched high and low, and we actually found Mike right in our backyard. He was coaching baseball for us, has a son that's a junior and a daughter that's a freshman, both at the high school. And he had mentioned to some parents that he was maybe interested. And so we brought him in, we met, and we actually took a walk down to the classroom. And Mike was like a kid in a candy store, and all the ideas, and just, I knew it was the right fit. I knew it was going to be, if we could get him, if we could land him, it's going to be the perfect fit. So thanks to some hard work by Mr. Hughes and Mrs. Gregory, we have Mike here with us, and he's doing a phenomenal job. And we are so lucky for our kids to be able to keep this program because they need it and they want it. So Mike Zelinski.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I have big plans. Hopefully dreams come true. We need to get these kids into the trades, and I just can't wait to get it going.
Mike, thank you for being with us. I do want to give a shout out to our HEA and working with us as we wanted to fill this spot, and we had to do some creative solution problem solving, and without the Teachers Association working with us, it wouldn't have happened. So again, thank you to the HEA for coming on board, understanding how important this program is to our students and certainly the trades. And I remember when I first met Mike, he said, here's the deal. I'm in the trades, and I really know what kids need, and I know that it's important that they have these skills so that we prepare them to go out and be ready to work. So again, Mike, thanks for being here.
Alrighty, moving on to item 1F, call to the public. Just a couple of comments before we get started. I want to remind everyone that we ask that you please be respectful, be mindful of others in the room during your call to the public. I also want to request that moving forward, and Renee, maybe we can note this in the minutes, that you fill out your form with your first and last name and the pertinent information. I don't need a novel about what you're planning to talk about, but it's good to have all that information as we're going into the call to the public. You will each have 3 minutes. I will hold up the card as a little visual at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, so you know you have 30 seconds left. And then after 3 minutes, I will kindly ask that you step away. Other than that, we will go ahead and get started.
Hey Megan, have we added anything yet that will allow anybody that needs special assistance to know that on the card? Has that been added?
We have not, but I do have one individual that I know of that today, and so we will
I think
accommodate
maybe
that individual.
put that one out there as well as an item.
Alrighty. First up, we have Holly Austin.
Hello. I was hoping not to have to be here so quickly as we begin another school year, but it appears we must continue to be reappointed. A situation was shared with me from a concerned parent. There is a child last year in 8th grade at Oak Creek Middle School who made verbal statements that he was going to shoot up the school the next day. There were several students who heard him say this. He verbally and individually addressed 4 to 5 students and indicated, paraphrase, "You better not show up to school tomorrow or I will kill you." These students reported it to the principal and each of their statements were taken separately. These students did the right thing and deserve to be protected from these types of threats. The police did get involved, but I do not have evidence of the police report. When parents questioned the police, they were assured, paraphrase, "The threat has been neutralized." Apparently, the child did not return to school. Fast forward a few months and a new school year later, and this student is now walking around our children's high school. Not one of the aforementioned students who were threatened with their life were notified. No parent was notified that the issuer of death threats against their children was free to roam the halls of Heartland High School. HCS, in their abundance of concern for the safety of our children, has allowed the perpetrator of death threats back into our school to re-victimize students who did the right thing by speaking up. What type of message does this send to the students at HCS? Don't worry, you can threaten your fellow classmates and we will welcome you back. Or, thanks for sharing these threats, but though your security and safety have been threatened and you feel your life is in danger, his rights are more important than yours. Now, I am sure there are issues with the student who threatened to shoot up Oak Creek Middle School. Perhaps the issues are cognitive, behavioral, social, emotional, mental health related, etc. It does not matter. This is a serious and grave concern that should have been met with the absolute expulsion from our school district. This is a zero tolerance issue, end of story. As stated in your handbook, a local school district shall develop and implement a code of student conduct. It will be administered fairly without partiality or discrimination. Heartland students must be educated in a safe and supportive environment. HCS is dedicated to creating and maintaining a positive learning environment for all students. It is expected that students will never do never appropriate things. This student violated 6 of your stated never appropriate behaviors, yet he was allowed back into our schools. This board, the superintendent, and the administrators are failing at ensuring the safety and security of all students, teachers, and staff with their lack of resolve and follow through with blatant violations of the student handbook. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Jason Ringette.
Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, let your Holy Spirit fill this room, soften everyone's hearts. Bless the school board with wisdom, discernment, give them eyes to see and ears to hear. Heartland Schools needs to return to God, prayer, and academics into our schools. Open up the school board meetings with prayer. The world is all caught up with offends everyone when we should worry about what offends God. We're in the fight of our soul of our nation. We're in the fight of their children and their innocence. Look at what the kids are learning and what's being shoved down their throats, twisting the truth, manipulating them to believe the lies. SEL has been hijacked by the radical left, making a Trojan horse, riddled with sexualization, grooming tactics pushed by the groomers to exploit our children, and Biden's changes to Title IX. Everyone knows the left-wing liberal woke extremists are the party of evil. Look at what they were doing to our children, to their education, destroying their morals and their innocence. It's so beyond evil. They support castrating children, mutilates children, perverts children, grooms children, murders children, indoctrinates children. While education is being neglected, we send our kids to school to get an education, not to be indoctrinated. All LGBT propaganda needs to be eliminated out of Heartland schools. It violates Article 1, Section 26 of the Michigan Constitution. It's unconstitutional for schools to have discrimination, to give preference or treatment over one group of people or another. How many hate crime shootings have been committed by trans extremists in the past year? The U.S. Department of Justice website discusses obscenity. In it, it states the following: federal law strictly prohibits distribution of obscene matter to minors. Anyone complaining about banning any books of Heartland schools, just calm down. This is what federal law says about obscenity. Any transfer to a minor under the ages of 16, including over the internet, is punishable under federal law. I counted 33 obscene books in Heartland High School Library in the year 2022. I also have photos of these books. God's rainbow was a covenant to never flood the earth again. The 7 colors in the rainbow represents divine completion, fullness, rest, and perfection. The LGBTQ rainbow, their colors represents mankind, the flesh, sin, bondage, and Satan. Congratulations to the groomers, pedophiles, and perverts who keep pushing the sick, twisted sexual perversion crap onto our kids within the schools. Do any of you do your research before promoting the satanic crap onto our kids? The radical left keeps shoving tolerance down everyone's throats. Jesus said in Mark 9:42, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to stumble, it would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he was thrown into the sea. Isaiah 5 says, woe for those who call evil good and good evil. You think you're loving people well, but you have to turn it back on God's word to affirm their sin. The greatest commandment of God's is love God first, love people second. But you're seeing this affirmation that comes from the affirmation because people have replaced repentance with tolerance. Nowhere in the Bible does it tell you to tolerate sin. Tolerance is a virtue. In fact, Revelation chapter 2, you have tolerated this woman Jezebel who takes my people to sexual perversion. The Bible says not to tolerate sexual sin. Anywhere you see tolerance preached, you will see sexual perversion celebrated. 31,000 scriptures do not affirm homosexuality. If you want scripture that affirms homosexuality practice, close your Holy Bible and open up the Satanic Bible reference at the reference that will affirm your sexual desire. We have two lives, an earthly life and an afterlife. Absent of the body, you're in the presence of the God, getting judged, tried, either sent to heaven or hell for eternity. God bless y'all.
Next up, we have Lori. And I think we need the microphone. Oh, does she have it?
That's good.
Hi, I just wanted to state, the last board meeting in June, I, waited till after the board meeting to talk to a couple of board members, which Michelle and Glenn seemed to get a lot all the time. So I went to approach him and, ended up, he had called me a liar on both. Right after the meeting, I called it a wooden hammer. It's called a gavel, but I called it a wooden hammer. She came up and smacked it down on there and told me to stop when I was talking to Cindy, but Cindy gave me permission to talk to her. And I looked at her and I said, you have no authority over me. These people do not allow you to talk to them. When I go to confront them, they totally walk away. When I try to go up there, they'll just run right out the door. But Glenn, even Greg and Michelle will stay behind and at least talk to the people. Well, last time I was here, I had confronted Chris about what happened, and I said, Chris, excuse me, I don't know what you're saying.
No, Mr.
I don't know my
Usher.
feedback. I don't know what your mom.
Mr. Usher, someone on Zoom is talking, so Lori, just hire hold for a second so we can. mute
Yeah,
whoever's-
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jeff Scott.
Good evening. As most of you know, I spent the last several months researching student safety and district transparency. One disturbing trend I quickly identified was that criminal incidents in the schools were not being reported to the Michigan State Police or to the board of directors, the trustees, as required by Michigan law. Michigan law requires all potential crimes in schools to be immediately reported to Michigan State Police. Failing to do so jeopardizes state funding. I submitted a series of FOIA requests to see what was actually being done. As you remember, Mr. Hughes tried to charge me $1,000 on one of my FOIA requests to print out a couple emails, an obvious attempt to shut me down. It didn't work. I was finally able to submit a subsequent FOIA request for these reports, and after being publicly embarrassed by the $1,000 charge, the district reduced it to about 70 bucks. I paid for the FOIA request on the morning of July 5th of this year. Guess when the district submitted all their Michigan State Police reports? The afternoon of July 5th and the morning of July 6th. The administration waited until I actually paid for the FOIA requests to do their job and what's required by Michigan law. As part of that investigation, I came across allegations of sexual impropriety between a district employee and a student, which was very disturbing. But what was even more disturbing was that Mr. Hughes and Mr. Van Epps decided to play detective before submitting the criminal allegation to law enforcement. That's right. They spent 2 days doing their own interviews and even notified the employee of the allegations before contacting police. I want to be extremely clear with what I'm about to say. Neither of you have any authority to conduct criminal investigations. Furthermore, there is not a parent in this room or in this district that trusts you to investigate allegations of sexual impropriety against their students by one of your employees. I'm no attorney, but I would venture to guess you have violated multiple state and federal mandatory reporting laws. Speaking of not being an attorney, when I submitted my Freedom of Information Act request for the communication between Detective Hughes and Detective Van Epps, I received highly redacted emails. I questioned why all the information has been redacted. I was told because of attorney-client privilege. So I guess I'd like to know which of you two detectives is also an attorney, because there is no such thing as superintendent privilege. You are both employees of this district, you're public employees, and your communication is subject to review by the taxpayers. This is just another way that you try to hide your actions. I urge the board to keep these actions in mind as you eventually discuss Mr. Hughes' contract extension. Thank you.
Next, we have Janine Boleski.
I'd like to thank the board for the decision to hire the Fortis Group to protect our students and staff. On May 8th, 2023, Julie Osashi came before this board making a serious claim as a victim of hate crime. She managed to spread her lies through various types of media, creating stories that reflect poorly on our district and our community. Law enforcement agencies made their conclusions that there was no evidence of hate crime a month before she spoke to you. She lied about being an HCS teacher. She lied about her husband being Black, 2 separate officers. She lied about the swastika being on her property. She, along with others from Livingston Integrity, marched into Mr. Hughes' office and demanded a FERPA violation investigation, which cost this district $30,000. Yes, a person that lies in a police report, a non-Livingston County resident, let that resonate. What is fascinating is that the Integrity Group has openly supported Mr. Costa and Mrs. Shaw for re-election. They have not denied affiliation with this group, and it is very clear that they have supported it. So is it proper for 2 board members to support a group that spews lies and is headed by members from outside the district? The Livingston Integrity Group has also continued to trash me and my reputation still to this day. Amber Fry was quoted as stating she took a 6-week paid vacation. Many members of this integrity group, including Casey Houghton, were calling for my job, stating she should be fired before any investigation was conducted. People from outside our district, $30,000, 0 violations. To this day, many in this district are sympathetic to these groups, including the Heartland Schools Parents Group, which supposedly supports HCS, but allows lies and innuendo to spread. I have worked with many of you in many various situations. Over my 17 years, I have volunteered for the PTO. I was instrumental with my husband for HP4K, bringing programs to the entire district. Worked with Lawrence Tech to offer the first summer robotics camp to HCS. Coached Science Olympiad for 2 years when a teacher could not. I was a Reaching Higher mentor, along with other volunteer efforts. What have these liars done for our district? I am shocked that these types of individuals come into our district, cost us thousands, spread division, are proven liars, and you allow them to further influence our district? What say you?
Next up, I have Jace Arledge.
It's a long walk. Good evening. Well, you said my name, but I wanted to tell you that I'm the bearded lady trans bus driver from Fowlerville. Let me give you a little background about myself. I'm a retired history, government, economics, world history teacher with a master's degree in history and curriculum and instruction. I taught grades 7 through 9 in South Carolina and 9th through 12th in Detroit, where I was also the history department head. I attended Sacred Heart Seminary, have a degree in theological studies, was a youth minister for the Archdiocese of Detroit for 5 years. And then I was the CE director for First Presbyterian of Howell and the Presbytery of Detroit until COVID. Why am I telling you this? I want you to understand that I am not an uneducated person. I research, I form views and opinions by hearing both sides and doing my homework. Many parents speak about teachers need to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic. We will teach our kids at home the other stuff. I can agree. What I don't agree with, though, is if the things being posted on social media is what is being taught, one can see why kids act the way they do. There is no way to stop the bullying or harassment if our kids see us do the same thing. It's the pot calling the kettle black. I have reached out to a few of you here to ask to sit down and have conversation. Only one person ever responded, but they never followed through. I requested these meetings because it is important. If we are to understand, we need to be understood. This is the beauty of creation. We aren't all alike, and that is what makes the world turn. It's unfortunate that we can't come together for the common good instead of individual gratification. I will state for the record, I don't talk shit, excuse my language, about people from behind a keyboard or on a podcast. If I have something to say to you, I will speak to you face to face. Let's hope that I get the same respect in return. In conclusion, if you want to know something about me or truths about what actually happens when someone transitions, contact me. Just like none of you like to have misinformation spread about you, I and others like me don't appreciate it either. I thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. Thank you very much, folks.
Next, I have Sally Frog Schaefer.
Back at the public speaking, not my favorite, but I'm Sally Krug Schaefer. I have a mom of 3 students who've gone through Heartland from preschool through graduation. I'm in the home stretch right now. I appreciate the support and the knowledge and the care that the teachers and all of the staff have shown to my kids. They have grown into capable, compassionate adults who are able to use their moral compass to guide them and their knowledge to find their paths in lives. And that's what they're doing. They're moving forward because of the things they learned here. Of course, I was their primary teacher, but I trust Heartland Schools and they've done a beautiful job with all of my girls. I appreciate the time and concern of the board members. I know you guys put a ton of work into this. I especially love it when you can have a mature discussion without being defensive or yelling or name calling, because those aren't the kind of things I want my kids to go forward with. There's always a way to talk about it, even if we don't agree. We are more alike than different. That is the one thing that I think we're not realizing. I want a safe school. I want my kids educated to be able to go and follow their dreams. And that's pretty much it. That's what I want. So in closing, I support Heartland Schools and their teachers, and the quieter voices in this room are still voices in this room. It's not just the loud ones.
Next, I have Dawn Smith.
Hi, I'll try to keep this short. I could talk about this for a long time because it annoys me a lot. I want to talk about the DEI goals that I saw in the handout for today for 2023. First of all, people might not realize because they have tunnel vision that DEI is not something that everybody believes in. DEI is a partisan ideology, and schools should be balanced in instruction and not used for indoctrination by the political party that's currently in power. I'm especially concerned about a couple of bullet points that I saw on the PowerPoint slide. Bullet number 4 talks about we endeavor to diversify HCS with high quality staff. Does it mean that we're going to look at racial issues for hiring and promotion? It seems like the Supreme Court just shot that down for colleges. So do we want to use this in hiring? Another thing that I was especially concerned about was bullet number 6. Student and staff training regarding bullying, including the differences when it involves someone from a protected class. What is the definition of a protected class? Isn't everybody who's a student protected? Why do we have to single people out? Isn't that a form of discrimination? I want to keep this short, so I'm just going to conclude with a quote from Memesh Thakur, who's the former Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations. It is not the mission of public policy to produce equality of outcome. When human beings are inherently unequal in talents, skills, aptitude, and application, when public policy shifts from equal opportunity to equality of outcomes, individual and national interests are subordinated to the claims of special interest groups. Thank you.
Next, I have Barbara Tonkovich.
Thank you for letting me speak. Start. In 64 AD, Nero burned Rome in order to rebuild, but placed the blame on Christians. Sounds a lot like progressive Democrats in their controlled cities around this nation. And we've seen it on the news, so we can't deny that. History does repeat itself until we learn the lesson, which we never will until Jesus comes back. But there is a solution, accepting the gift. The gift is Jesus, God incarnate and humbly born in a manger. We all know what Christmas is, a Christmas story. Jesus, our righteousness, because we are not righteous ourselves, we are not good. Our goodness is as filthy rags. And his example in his earthly walk. Jesus, our salvation from eternal punishment. You can believe it or you don't have to, but I would believe it just in case. By taking our death that we deserve, and Jesus, our eternal life. He's the one who gives eternal life. Jesus, our Lord, King, and Judge. This is a poem. If and when we lose our freedom as a nation great and grand, and we find ourselves in bondage to some foreign foe and land, it will be because our preachers compromise God's blessed truth, and because our modern churches fail to warn and win the youth. When we fail as gospel preachers to rebuke a nation's sin and reveal the plans of schemers that come creeping slyly in, we can't hope to stand as guiltless when we meet God at his throne, the judge, and be crowned with saints and sages whom he welcomes as his own. Plans are being formulated by the foes of gospel light who despise our flag and freedom. And the principles of right to destroy our schools and churches and our Constitution great, and to bring us soul and body to some dreadful end and fate. If and when we lose our freedom, sad, oh sad, will be the day. Though we call on God for mercy, it will be too late to pray. Then don't sell to godless people who would rule our nation wrong. Freedom, which our God has given for a vote or for a song. This was written by Walter Eisenhower in 1960, but doesn't it sound like today? History does repeat itself. Thank you very much.
Right, next we have Ella Nikitin.
Hello. I want to say that I want to talk about art because I am very, very disappointed with the agenda that is being pushed in art class. When I was a child, when I was in school, we learned in art class that there was 7 colors and that God created 7 colors and that these are the 7 colors. And now I'm learning that they're coming up with these new made-up colors that don't exist, and they're telling us that they're real colors. For example, the HTML specifications has 163 different colors, which is absolutely ridiculous. You know, the other day, a kid came up to me and handed me this beautiful, beautiful green plushie. And he told me, what do you think of my beautiful chartreuse plushie? And I was absolutely floored because like, what the heck is a chartreuse? I had never heard of a chartreuse before. Like, could someone please explain to me what that is? That's not a real color. Someone just made up a word and said that that's a color. And now we're being asked to believe in these made up colors, and they're being taught to us in art class, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, in all seriousness, I just wanted to say the very same people, or the same group of people that is accusing Julie Ohashi of being an outsider also accused me of being an outsider. They said that I don't live in Livingston County. They said that I was bussed in and that I was hired in to cause agitation. I have lived in Livingston County since 2005. You can attest to that. And I don't know, I don't like having these lies being spread about where I live. I am not an outsider. I am from here. I went to school here. I live here. Thank you.
Next, we have Karen Fox.
Good evening. First, I wanted to congratulate the 5 new security officers to our school district. I'm beyond thrilled to have them here to serve and protect our bundles of joy. Our children, their safety is #1, so I wanted to welcome them. Second, I wanted to express my displeasure of a few staff members, a current sitting board member who blatantly showed their rebellion of the recently approved policy 8805 as their actions displayed by wearing their rainbow gear, clothing, and selected accessories to their first day back to school on Monday, August 14th. These types of behaviors are exactly what caused an unwelcome division in our community, and they did it knowingly and regardless. Shame on them. Our children would have suffered punishment if they had worn an American flag or a Trump t-shirt to a football game. Remember that one not too far back, because I do. It was shameful. Rules for thee, but not for me. Next, I wanted to address the Livingston County Commissioner Wes Nakagari's recent published report on the incident that was discussed here in this boardroom back on May 8th. If you go back and watch at 1 hour, 37 minutes and 55 seconds mark, a non-Livingston County resident, even though she said she claimed to be born and raised in Livingston County, her father's residence resides in Oakland County, not within the Heartland School District. She spoke about how she found a swastika symbol spray painted on a tree outside the outskirts of her property. If you recall, during the call to public, Ms. Ohashi claimed that the FBI was investigating this incident as a hate crime. She also told the police that her husband was Black, which he is not. She was the one who reached out to the FBI when her police investigation and final report did not get the results she so desired. The FBI and the Oakland County Sheriff Office concluded their investigations. They found no evidence of a hate crime. Due to Mr. Nakagari's FOIA request, he obtained the full police report, body cam footage, and found that these allegations made by Ms. Ohashi were false. I encourage you all to read Mr. Nakagari's final report. Please listen to the body cam footage and read the police report in its entirety. The only hate crime committed here was Ms. Ohashi's crime against our 3 duly elected new board members she named on May 8th here in this room, who she often refers to as the hate slate on her Facebook group, Livingston Integrity and Stand Against Extremism. She also claimed on that day that the Clean Slate members do not support our kids or their education. Again, another falsehood. Let me be clear, Clean Slate is the majority in this small town. Just refer back to those tallies back in November of 2020, which thankfully is why we have the 3 new board members here today. She spoke for 3 minutes and 30 seconds without any interruption by Mr. Costa to wrap it up. I must admit, or have to ask, Mr. Costa, did you allow her to speak for 3 minutes and 30 seconds because she's actively endorsing and promoting only you and Ms. Shaw? Only two current board members sitting up here today are being supported and endorsed by this divisive, misleading, and very political organization. Thank you.
Next, we have Kate Pylon.
Good evening. Thanks for having me speak today. This is an exciting time, a new school year with new hopes and possibilities. I'm a former student and now my child is a student at the high school. There is a dark cloud rolling over my pride in our district as I watch what's unfolding in our community and on our school board. I knew the tides were turning leading up to the school board election. It was clear to me that some of the candidates were running with the wrong intentions. Many of us saw right through your campaigns. We're not fools. These particular potential members were running for political reasons with social issues at the forefront. They wanted to make Heartland schools to fit their agenda, not what was in the best interests of the staff and the student body as a whole. I see some of the ignorant and hateful posts littering your social media feed, and I cannot believe you have been given the ability to make decisions on the behalf of our schools. So you are aware the environment you wish to see enforced will not become a reality. People are too different and diverse to conform to your world. The moment my attention was sparked and made me understand that something was amiss was when I showed up to the polls to vote for the school bond. I saw signs with suggestions of left-wing agenda tied to the yes vote and other signs stating that boys shouldn't be allowed on girls' sports teams. I couldn't begin to understand how any of that had to do with what I was there to vote for, especially after we saw today what good that money has done for our schools. After a rather bizarre discussion with someone who was urging a no vote, I went home feeling angry and baffled. Her mission was a total smokescreen, a complete distraction to those who agree with her social views. It was time for me to truly understand what was going on in our district. I'm aware now of the movement that some of the board members and citizens are giving gas to. I'm confident that this may not go over as well as you may think it will. I urge you to stop alienating vulnerable groups and fighting over harmless stickers. I urge you to keep your hands off books. Every book has the ability to touch someone, teach them something, or open their eyes to a bigger world. Please do not get in the way of that. I urge you to promote real and truthful teachings of current events and past histories, not your version, the version. The school board is in place to assure that decisions are made that will keep students and staff safe and supported in their person, emotionally, and educationally. The school's goal is to prepare the students to thrive in whatever path they may take and to understand the world beyond themselves. These kids need to be able to participate in a society that works together, not fights each other. Some of the behaviors I've read, seen, and witnessed among board members and parents is setting a poor example for the youth in our community. If you know anything about kids, they're always watching and always listening. So where do we go from here with all the conflict? We go to the students and staff who run these halls daily. We should be asking them questions and listening to their answers and suggestions. We should not be responding to the members of our community, adults no less, that are bullying each other, the students and staff of these schools. As much as you'd like to believe that Heartland schools are your schools, they're not. They're not yours.
Please wrap it up.
Yep, they're not yours or mine. They're our children's schools. Their reality, struggles, and possibilities are different than ours were and are. It's my wish that we can all act together for a more peaceful and productive year. Thank you.
Next, we have Mike O'Boyle.
Good evening. Good evening. Promise not to yell at you. I'd like to address the board about the actions made by Julie Ohashi. We here in Livingston County know who she is. We know she's a liar. We know she lied about her husband being Black. She lied about being a teacher in Heartland. She lied about living in Livingston County, which is not true. She lied to the Oakland Sheriff's Office, which is a crime. She lied to the FBI, which is also a crime. Really? The FBI? She's a liar and a fraud, and so is Livingston Integrity. They're good people that live in this community, and they don't need the likes of her or Livingston Integrity. And I want to ask something to the good people in Heartland to stand up against people like this. Otherwise, they'll be teaching your kids one day. Thank you.
Next, I have Jamie Peterson.
Hello. I am a mother of 3 high school students. My daughter was involved in the shooting incident or the threat of the shooting incident that happened at Oak Creek. I'm extremely upset, disappointed, and angry with how that was handled. The students did the right thing. This student in a classroom threatened to shoot up the school, told my daughter and 2 other students, do not come to school on Tuesday. I'm going to shoot the school up. And I'm going to be bringing a gun to school every day after this point. The students did the right thing. They talked to their teacher, they talked to their principal, and the child was, per the phone call from the principal that I received, removed from the situation safely. However, he was held in the office as the students were ushered one by one in to give reports and statements as to how this unfolded. This child was glaring through a glass at the students. So he's aware of who made these, who tattled. Fast forward to this year, this student is now currently in Heartland High School in my daughter's twins classroom. My daughter has anxiety about going to school. This child knows who she is. If this child were to act out, she feels that she would definitely be targeted because this student is aware of her, aware of her telling on him. I'm disgusted that she's even put in this situation. We preach and we put signs up and we tell kids it's okay to see something, say something, and they do it. And what we do with that information is coddle it for a minute and then reintroduce a threat into their schools so that they do not feel safe. Children are not going to say something if nothing comes of it. And people who are having thoughts of threatening the school are not going to voice it to anybody if they know it gets stopped and then they're reintroduced to act on that threat without saying anything. So there's no warning next time because this person has learned their lesson. They're not going to speak out, they're just going to act. I cannot for the life of me understand how this student ended up back in the public setting. I'm extremely upset by this. And there's other ways that the student can be educated that does not allow him access to thousands of students and teachers. It can be safe for everybody. I'm disappointed that in the due diligence and the investigation into this situation, nobody reached out to the family members of the students that were directly threatened. Nobody talked to the students that were directly threatened. Nobody asked what our opinions were or how we felt about this child being put back into the system. Yet now he's back in the system. I'm asking the school board to do right by everybody and remove this threat from the school system. It's wrong. It goes against everything that you tell students. It goes against everything that you should have in you to provide a safe environment for my children. Thank you.
Next, I have Fry.
So I had a speech prepared tonight, but I guess I'm gonna throw that away because I'm gonna have to spend my time defending us. Yawn. All right, so all these allegations that Julie Ohashi is not from Livingston County, she is a graduate of Howell High School, lived in Howell all of those years. She just happened to move away for a little while. The house her family currently lives in was her grandparents'. And it's kind of funny to me because everybody wanted to defend Brooke because she lived in Sherwood and she was right on the boundary line. So she got to come because it was school of choice. But Julie's the exact same situation. She lives in the exact same neighborhood as George Skendi and let's see, who else is in there? West Nakagiri. You know, does that make them not Livingston County people? You know, boundaries are kind of weird, especially in like neighborhoods. So let's also talk about this tree, huh? Let's talk about all of this, right? She never once said she was a Heartland teacher. She said she was a teacher. She said that she thought the threat was coming from Heartland. The report from the officer saying that she said she was a Heartland teacher was his supposition and not actually what was said. Yes, she did refer to her husband as being Black, but that's because she was scared for her family and the officer was not taking her seriously. And if you've met James, you know that he is darker than most Black people that I know. So you know what? I don't want to hear it, you guys.
Hey,
you know what?
Can you please address us?
So,
everyone just be respectful, please.
So, and also on Janine's part too, she wants to say that outside people came in for a meeting with Chuck. Well, as Chuck knows, I recorded that meeting. And I have proof that I never asked for her job. I, in fact, quoted the movie Office Space and asked her to be moved to the basement across the hall from the boxes. I actually asked her not to be fired and that I would feel sorry for her if she lost her job over her husband. Quit giggling, Glenn. Please be serious, come on. So, with all of the online harassment I've been dealing with and you know, a lot of these people that are acting like ostriches and putting their heads in the sand and saying, no racism ever happens in Livingston County and people don't get harassed. I graduated from Pinckney. I used to pick up fluorescent pieces of paper off the floor every day that had the phone number for the racist joke hotline on it. Half of my senior sports graduating class drove red pickup trucks with Confederate flags hanging off the back of it. I remember when they spray painted the word nigger on Joanna Toth's locker. She was Indian. What? This is all truth. This is all truth. You're saying that this stuff doesn't exist around here, and I know that it's existed this entire time. And people need to start either owning up to it and acting better.
Please wrap it up.
I wrapped it up. I'm done talking.
Please address
How's the next person? Oh no, I was told to sit down. So I'm gonna make sure I stand. Who's that? Who's that?
Stop. Come on, you gotta go.
Thank you, Megan.
Yes. Next up, we have Alex Yarber.
I am speaking to express my dismay and disapproval of board actions being taken to consider renewing Superintendent Hughes' contract for another 5-year term. This is an egregious concession at the expense of the taxpayer. He has not proven that he deserves it, and he is in the process for conducting the evaluation for use in assessing his performance is a gross disenfranchisement of board members who do not caucus with the majority. In more than 30 years of business experience, I have never seen an executive's contract be extended 5 years into the future when only 20% of the original term has been executed. Don't the taxpayers deserve to see what the next 36, 24, or even just the next 12 months brings in the terms of the quality of leadership of Heartland Schools? Whether or not his performance even warrants any extension of his contract is a totally separate matter.
Mr. Yarber, can you just pause for a second? I'll most definitely give you your time back. All right. If this continues, we will go into recess. Enough. Go ahead, Mr. Yarber, I apologize.
But right, it was for a good reason. Whether or not his performance even warrants an extension of his contract is a totally separate matter. In an amazing display of irony at the last board meeting, he complained about not knowing how he was going to implement a new board policy. One which was about simply removing all but a specified number of stickers, banners, and flags. From a taxpayer perspective, there is no evidence of any extraordinary performance above and beyond what is normally expected of this position. From what I recall, in just the last 6 or 9 months, the district has been named a defendant in at least 2 serious cases involving civil rights and wrongful termination of employment. And after what we heard tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if there was more. The best evidence that Mr. Hughes does not deserve a contract reset is that he contributed to lasting division within the community when he botched the handling of a community complaint about a board member who was simply exercising free speech on a local podcast. He handled this like an amateur. In addition to costing taxpayers $30,000 for a frivolous investigation, Mr. Hughes defamed the board member in a very public manner by misquoting the board member, but he only conceded that the investigation was fruitless in a 1-sentence paragraph buried in the middle of the shortest weekly update letter ever. No public apology for dragging the board member and his wife through the mud. That's low class and unbecoming of a high-performing executive. And I look forward to the board's discussion on this matter.
Scott Horst.
Good evening, board. I'm Scott Horst. I'm the proud father of a senior at Heartland High School and 2 recent graduates. Also attended at least 10 years straight of football games, and I wanted to thank the administration for rescinding what I perceived to be kind of a wrong and premature program that the athletic department was considering called the Council of Champions or Chairs of Champions, and would have set a different tiered pricing rate to sit at football games and watch. I think all in their own way, whether they're POM athletes, band kids, or just kids in general looking for a good Friday night, that the families coming to watch all of that shouldn't be placed into tiers of different amounts. So I do want to thank the administration for quickly addressing that early mistake, rescinding it. And if it was done for budgetary reasons, I would ask that the administration look for other ways to raise that revenue and not separate the families and the students that do come to enjoy those events. Thank you very much.
That ends the call to the public. Item 1G, board reports and requests. Mr. Costa?
I want to appreciate, or I want to thank the public for coming out. For everyone who spoke, I think it's great that we have such a community that is involved and cares about our kids. I just want to read one thing I just wrote down, and I guess part of that, I know it was already mentioned for the football game. Super exciting this Thursday. I know it's going to be super hot, but I look forward to seeing that out there on our new shirt. With that said, I just want to state that I continue to stand by the belief that it's important to respect the inherent dignity of every human. This can be accomplished by creating an environment that is safe and welcoming, in which everyone feels represented. I will not waver my effort to create a school culture that supports a diverse, equitable, and inclusive educational community. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Mr. Keller.
Order. I thought I could nap for a while. All right, well, thanks, Megan. First of all, I just want to welcome everybody back to school. I got glowing reviews from my daughter, said everything was positive. She's already given rave reviews about her new teachers. And I just personally want to thank all the staff for all of your efforts to make it a successful start of school. So congratulations to everyone involved. Next item I want to talk about is something that I mentioned in the previous board meeting regarding an effort to try to improve the board admin relationship dynamics. And so having some conversations with Megan we were able to, I guess, put some wheels on the bus, pun intended, and get a task force adopted. And so essentially what this task force will do is we take one board member and one principal and we'll pair them up for the entire year. And the intent is to have sit downs with each other. It doesn't have to be at the school. I think kind of laid out some framework, which hopefully everyone received in an email. But again, the intent is to have a kind of a positive relationship with the two. And the intent with 6-year terms on the board, we'll try to have a different school each year, so everybody should get most schools. And if you're fortunate enough to get 2 schools, then maybe by the time you're through a 6-year term, you can have been paired with each school. Want to get some periodic check-ins to kind of get feedback from both sides, whether it's working for the admin and it's also working for the board. So want to do like a 90-day pulse check on that. And I think that's probably it for that specific item. If anybody has any questions on the board or on the admin team, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. The safe space stickers, I just wanted to make just a quick comment. I want to thank the board for coming up with a new design to replace some of the previous ones. I think that was something that was needed based on some concerns folks had with stickers. So hopefully we have something that will work for everyone. I think the important thing is that it applies to every Eagle staff and student. So slightly less positive here. I guess I have some concerns with some of the call to public that was touched on today, specific with the SAGE group. I do appreciate the hard work that Commissioner Nakagiri did and to try and unearth, anytime there's a story, right, we need to hear both sides of it. And so he I guess took it upon himself to kind of dig into some of these claims of racism from folks that may or may not live in this community and that they're allegedly leading an organization. So I would hope that they would kind of get those facts in order first. I think it's extremely disappointing for someone to try and paint anybody in this room, in a racist light without having all the facts. And so I hope this kind of serves everybody. We need to make sure that we know the full story before we're passing judgment. And then I guess I'm just happy overall that there was some vindication. I guess I personally felt as though it needed to come out because there were some insinuations that folks that maybe voted for me and others that ran with me, that we somehow had something to do with a despicable act like that. So I'm glad to see that the truth has come out on that particular issue. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that I am aware that a member of the board took an opportunity to publicly support a social cause while on school property. The attire he was wearing has upset parents and staff in the district, clearly. It is my opinion that he did not think through the possible negative consequences or impact this would have on our educational community. So to be clear, he does not speak for the board as a whole. And then lastly, I want to just say to everyone that I want to reinforce my commitment to the safety of everyone in this room, your kids, your grandkids, the staff, the teachers. Being part of the health and safety committee is something that I hold in very high regard. And so I'm going to continue to pursue all areas where we may be able to just get a little bit better with safety. We're just going to keep kind of moving that forward in a positive light. So that's my commitment to all of you. Thank you.
I don't think I breathed for like an hour. Okay, so I want to welcome everybody back, the students and the faculty, and I'm glad this week went well. I know it was a lot of work. As far as Mr. Marino talking about the renovations and everything that everybody's done, I had a bathroom renovation. It's taken 4 months. Like, I can't imagine what it's like to do the level of work that everybody has put into these districts and, or into the school district, and how much work has gone into that. So we appreciate it. We do see that. I can't imagine. So, and also, I'm super excited about Mike Zelinski, and thank you to the HEA for, allowing, Mr. Hughes and team to, fast track him, because it was so important. Not only did we do the bathroom renovation, it's really hard to find somebody to do it. And so, we know that trades is suffering. I hesitate to say that a lot of the tradesmen, were not practicing, mentorship or, teaching people. They were just working because there was a lot of business, and, they just wanted more grunt work than to teach somebody to take their spot. And Mr. Zelinski stepping up really says a lot about his character, that he knows how important it is as well. And I wish him all the luck. And if he needs any support at all, contact me, because, I've got friends that also want to help. So there's that. I want to talk about, we had a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee meeting. So racism in any form is wrong. We all believe that wholeheartedly. For the record, I am not in support of having a DEI committee. I requested to be part of this committee in an effort to steer the committee away from discrimination against students, which can and does result from DEI committee's objectives being left unchecked or implemented without verifying how it impacts all students. We had a very good discussion. Mr. Hughes provided us with DEI goals for the school year. The list is thorough and the objective is clear, but there are no 1st, 5th, or 14th constitutional protections in place, so I will be asking for more information, and I'll keep the board informed. I've also asked that Mr. Hughes send out a letter to the parents advising them of monthly reports that are given to the Department of Justice and how their child might end up on the list. I strongly suggest that parents pay attention, and as it is captured in the DEI committee meeting notes. The line item says the DOJ wants more focus on race in the upcoming year. So, we need parents to pay attention. We did get some requests to understand, or well, they weren't requests, they were complaints about Mr. Costa's attire at the.
All right, we can't point out, Robert's rules of order, you can't, point out an individual member of the board.
Okay, I apologize. I'm remiss. I take that back. We did get some complaints about a board member wearing a prominent rainbow on his shirt. I can't answer any of the questions. I apologize. I can't provide you with any details of that. If you have questions, please ask the individual that you had a problem with. We voted to remove the rainbows, not as a means to not support a community of kids, but we did it because we understand that there are all kinds of kids in this district that need protection and help. So I'm really glad that the majority of the board understood that and that we went with that. The other reason that we did that is because, teachers aren't trained, or, it's not within the law for them discussing sexuality with students outside of a sex ed class, because the parent needs to sign off on it. So this could result in lawsuits. We kind of want to take that burden off of them as well. Finally, the other thing I want to address, which is controversial, is the Wasnnakie Gary's report on Julie Ohashi and the swastika she claimed was a result of her involvement with the millage. I want to thank the police and the FBI for the 6 visits they had with Mrs. Ohashi. They were very thorough in their investigation and very clear with their findings. I am bringing this up because it is very personal, as it should be for any Heartland resident. As you may know, Mrs. Ohashi, sorry, did it again, didn't I? No, I can do that. This individual, this individual spoke at our May 8th board meeting and told a sympathetic audience a tall tale that she was born and raised in Livingston County. She may have been, but according to her and where she lives now, she doesn't live in Livingston County. She claims she was a parent of a Heartland student, which I confirmed she's not. Then went on to state that her involvement with the millage vote that she claims that none of us supported, that is not true. We never said we didn't support the millage. We said that we had our rights to our vote to keep it private. That's all we said. And we do have the right to keep our vote private, but we also said in passing in several meetings that we support the millage because we know how important that money is for the students. So there's other things. She's claimed that I support conversion therapy. I've never ever talked about conversion therapy. She brought something up and I said, versus a child mutilating their body, maybe they should go and pray, because she said, should they go to church? I answered her question. So she twisted my words, so that's why it's personal. She went on to say that her cohorts were doxxed, harassed, and that they were all threatened, all because she cares, and she will take the arrows for the cause. In her speech, she did allude to the fact that Glenn, Greg, and I were a part of this. So she was essentially blaming us. I take it very personally. She's trying to disparage Heartland. So thankfully, Wes, who lives in Heartland, and did his due diligence, acquired the police report, body cam footage and the police reports. And what he found, he shared on his website. You can go and see it, Wes Nocky here. He doesn't provide any opinion. He just allows you to make your own judgment. And the final determination of the police report was there was no evidence that this person was a victim of a hate crime. I deserve an apology. Everybody deserves an apology because she was not a victim. I might have let it go. However, you will see the case was closed for 2 days after she came to the board meeting. So she knows that after the 6th visit that it was not true. So she did not stop there. She went to the newspapers and local news channels and gave them her story in a recorded video where she continued to claim that she was a victim of Heartland extremists. She said that she knows there's white supremacists and all this other stuff about Heartland. Meanwhile, at that time, the case was closed. This aired on Fox News. I was going to play it for you, but I would like for you to go in and watch it for yourself so that you can see. And please keep in mind the FBI met with her. The FBI and police met with her combined 6 times. And they closed the case with no evidence of a hate crime a month before she put out the statements. Could have been 3 weeks, sorry. I'm bringing this to community's attention because not only did she allude to the fact that myself, Greg, and Glenn had something to do with this false flag, but she's implicating Heartland community in her story. I, for one, am furious that she has known for several months that this case was closed without any evidence, and yet she continues to tell the story as if it is real. In fact, I went back and listened to her speech, and she outright lies in her very first sentence. She has created a fictional life to propel her very unpopular agenda of turning Heartland blue by slandering and lying about board members in an effort to destroy our wonderful community. I have lived here for 22 years. I love my community, and she's trying to destroy what I love. So I want to pursue legal remedy for slander and defamation of character for myself and the other board members she blamed, as well as the community she tarnished with her life. This board, because we are the protectors of this community, and we are the ones that she brought this to originally. And yes, of course, every community has racism. I denounced it from my first sentence. We do not agree. We want this community to understand that, you know, it's not right. However, the level that she took it to and how she has portrayed Heartland community is disgusting. And I want to see if we can take legal action against her. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Just to start off with, there is this opening week excitement for the new academic year that it's kind of hard to ignore. It's kind of exciting to see the new year start out. We had such a great year last year academically with sports, all kinds of things, and I think that that trend is going to continue, and it's really exciting to see that. Also, Greg came up with this idea of having more or less liaisons for every school with board members. I had the ability to chat with Mr. James Fitzgerald of the high school, and I was very impressed by his enthusiasm and his excitement for the job, and I was very happy with our meeting. It was a great meeting, and hope to have more productive ones like that in the future. Thank you for your time. Moving on, all of us, I think all of us, or most of us on this board, have had tons of emails and messages and private phone calls regarding a couple of topics that were brought up in the call to public. The first one is this perceived zero tolerance policy that people think that we have for certain behaviors. And what I'm unable to explain to people that ask me about the incident that happened, I don't have a good answer for how this individual can be still in our system after threats not once but twice. And I have no good explanation for it. And I hope someone tonight can explain that to the community and to the board members, because I simply don't have a good reason for it. Next, just a word about Livingston Integrity and the SAGE group. From what Commissioner Nakagiri's report found with videotape and police reports and videos that were given to the media, if anyone here in administration or in the schools align themselves with that group, you may want to rethink your strategy. You saw from tonight what one of their members are capable of. Another one did irreparable harm to this community by implicating it in a fake hate crime. So think about that. Next, when the board changes policies, we know that we are going to get a certain level of pushback. We understand that. Some people will be happy, some people will be upset. But the bottom line is that the board as a whole must work to help implement that change. To have a board member flagrantly take a stance on a policy that was approved is appalling. And I am blown away that somebody could wear gear that was in direct violation of that policy. And I'm appalled by it. I really am. And I think there should be some action taken on that. Next, we had a subject come up of the contract for the superintendent. Now, I was earlier this month under the impression that we were going to talk about that and maybe make a no vote on it or something to that matter, but it wasn't even on the agenda, and I don't know what's going on with that. And I'd like maybe somebody up here to explain what's going to be done with that subject, because we just let it float from last month to this month and nothing was said about it. And the last thing too, I really appreciate any new employees in this district. We all know that filling teacher jobs is quite a chore, it's quite a task. I applaud all of you that were selected by staff to become Heartland Eagles. The one thing that I'd like the personnel committee to kind of investigate is sort of this exercise of approving new hires when we don't really find out who new hires are until the meeting. And I'd like to see something change with that. But essentially, that's all I have to bring this evening. And I thank you.
Thank you. I will just do my monthly reminder about the Heartland Art Walk that's coming to Heartland. We are still accepting student artwork. We have received a lot of community artwork, but we really want our students to participate in this. So it is open for another couple weeks. Go to heartlandliving.com. All the information is there. I think some principals have sent it out. It's been in Mr. Hughes' weekly update. It is a Partners in Progress event, so it's the township, the school district, the library, and who am I missing? It's the 4 Partners in Progress, right? Chamber of Commerce, we're all putting this on together. So looking forward to a great event. September 23rd is kickoff in Settlers Park. I also want to welcome everyone back and say thank you for all that you do to prepare for our students to come into the building, the care that you give them once they're there. We know it's long hours, long days, but I appreciate all that you do, teacher, staff, custodians, everyone. I know it's not something I could do, but thank you so much for being there and for doing what you do. Last shout out I'm going to give to the band. I know it's always a common topic with me, but thank you to the community. Saturday, we had a fantastic fundraiser for the band at Grumlaw, the car wash. It's always fun to be an observer when you're watching dozens and dozens of high school kids with water and soap, what they come up with. So that was a lot of fun. Thank you for the support. And I know Mr. Lively, I don't think he's here, but special shout out to him for continuing to make marching band and band class being a welcoming environment for all students. Everyone that comes into his family is welcome and part of the family, regardless of who they are, what they are, or their musical ability. So thank you, Mr. Lively, and that's all I have. This is Coleman.
I'll echo my fellow board members in thanking the staff and the administration for all the hard work that you put in to make the start of the year as smooth as possible. We all truly appreciate that. I hope that you were all able to recharge a little bit over the weekend. I know my kids were wiped out on Friday and needed the time, so hopefully you guys all were able to recharge. I just wanted to address something that was brought up in last month's meeting. My email address, my Heartland School email address is quite often misspelled by my colleagues here at the table and also by people in the community. I don't think my name is too unusually spelled, but apparently it's pretty common. So what we've done to rectify the situation so that I'm sure to receive all emails is Mr. Usher has helped to create an alias, an email alias with the most common misspelling of my name, and it will be forwarded to me so that I will now receive all emails, even if it's misspelled. So hopefully that will alleviate that issue. But if you do want to email someone on the board, I just urge you to use either click the link that's on the website or just copy and paste the email that pops up so that you don't have to try to retype it and misspell it.
I'm guilty. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Glenn with 2 N's, which I have not misspelled, by the way. All right, so regarding the agenda, when we motioned to approve the agenda, I mentioned this, that we had to waive board policy. In the board policy for the agenda, it's 166, I think is the number. It actually states that call to the public is item 1E. So I've been looking at how we can shift things around on the agenda, and it might even address some of Mr. Gogolewski's concerns about the new hires, how we address the new hires, how we vote for them in the meeting, when we vote for them. So I'm looking at a bunch of different options. I'm actually talking to a couple of board members from neighboring districts. I gave Megan a huge brain dump over the weekend, which was probably a hot mess to read through. So once I circle back with Megan, I will connect with all of you guys again with another email, following up with what I'm proposing that we do with the agenda going forward and what changes will be required in those policies. So more to come on that soon. And then just a general statement. There's a lot of talk about lies and mistruth and misunderstandings and all this stuff, that everybody has their First Amendment right to speak, to communicate as they see fit. And I would never stand in the way of any of that, but I just want to make sure that whatever some of my board members, my fellow board members say is not necessarily my opinion. And I don't necessarily want you to make the community to make the assumption that we share the same opinions. So I'm not going to stand in the way of anybody saying what they want to say, but I just ask that if you want to know my opinion, please ask. But don't assume that the opinions expressed loudest are shared by all of us here at the table. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mrs. Coleman. Right. Welcome back to school. It is, it decided to be fall for a little bit. Now we're back to summer. So, to your point, I hope the air is working this week and next. It's a little hot up here. I don't know if anyone else is sweating. I do want to remind board members that Partners in Progress is this Wednesday morning at 7:30 a.m. Right here, correct? And so for those of you that would like to attend. Just for the public's knowledge, I did update committee assignments, and essentially everyone has a pretty equal number of committee assignments, and tried to pair folks with committees that they were passionate about impacting. Just one example is obviously as Mr. Keller is running with the administrative partner program, it made sense for him to be on personnel and so on and so forth. There's several examples. Happy to share that, and that will go up on the website. I just emailed that to Renee today. So we will go move forward with those new committee assignments. The second thing I want to address is the safe space sticker. I met with Mr. Hughes and subsequently sent an email to my fellow board members around the new design at every entrance of our building. This doesn't really need a vote, actually. It just needs direction from the board. But one thing that was pointed out today was the clear and concise verbiage around it. I know that Glenn had proposed a verbiage around the welcome of all students. If you get a chance, just take a look at that. It was today, I get it, everyone was at work, but take a look at that, and then we can implement that. Mr. Hughes can implement it at the entrances of the buildings. And so if you would like to see it, I apologize, it was not part of the packet. I will leave it up here. You guys are more than welcome to take a look. All right, moving on to the evaluation tool and contract. So as a member of the public had pointed out last board meeting, the 2022-23 evaluation tool that was utilized was not approved by the MDE, despite it being approved for others in the district. And so I have worked over the past several weeks with the MDE, with their chief of staff, their deputy superintendent, the MASB, and our legal counsel to rectify that and make sure that we are course corrected moving forward. MDE has noted our efforts to course correct moving forward, so they have this all documented. It was a really good conversation with them, as was with our legal counsel, and one of my fellow board members was able to sit on that call with me as well. We need to fix it moving forward. I would say 99% of school districts, and certainly the top 10 school districts within our state, use the MASB tool. So for those of you who may or may not be familiar, the MDE has two pre-approved tools, one being the MASB tool. And then you can submit a tool if you want for consideration. But given that I personally like to benchmark ourselves against others in the state, I am going to recommend that we actually use that MASB tool. In addition, I am going to recommend that we not, due to the 22-23 evaluation tool not being approved by the MDE, we will not be, I would recommend that we not move forward with the contract extension due to utilizing a tool that was not approved. So although we do have a policy that indicates 3 years of highly effective, you technically don't need an evaluation. I think that making sure that everyone's feedback is provided in an appropriate tool is very important for the integrity of our district moving forward. And so I will make a motion in a moment, but I feel like that should be the end of my board report. I do want to address something really quickly before I make that motion and put it on the table for everyone to consider. I'm not going to tolerate the craziness. It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter who you are. You come here, you be respectful, and we conduct business. We conduct a very structured meeting. You can't attack other people. It's not going to happen. You'll be out. It's not conducive to a meeting. It's not conducive to getting business done. It's not conducive to an environment that anyone wants to participate in. And I have no problems throwing this meeting in recess when we have to, and taking care of things. So I just want to make that very clear, that we won't be tolerating that. I will finish my board report. I move that we adopt a recommendation of the utilization of the MASB evaluation tool for the 23-24 school year and subsequently not consider contract renewal until the completion of that school year and evaluation. Motion by me. This is going back support by
Yes.
Mr. Costa. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Mr. Gobleski,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Costa.
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mrs. Lundey.
Yes.
And I obviously made the motion, so I am a yes as well. That motion passed.
Will you make, Megan, will you make sure that you send, Renee?
Yes.
Exactly what you wrote?
Not a problem. All right, moving on, to item 2A, payment of invoices.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Chief Financial Officer, approves the financial report as of July 31st, 2023, and the payment of invoices totaling $1,623,017.55. Payroll obligations totaling $3,335,577.43.
Motion by Mrs. Coleman, supported by Mrs. Shaw. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gobleski,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman, yes. Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Lundey,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes. Item 2B, Custodial Maintenance Association Contract Extension.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the chief financial officer, approves the Custodial Maintenance Association contract extension as presented.
Motion by Mr. Costa, supported by Mrs. Coleman. Any discussion? Chuck, would you like to give a quick overview of that, please?
Yeah, just a quick overview. Obviously, we look at all of our groups, and we were finding that our maintenance team, we were losing members, and we weren't replacing them. We're putting postings out there and getting no applications, so we wanted to make sure that we put their salaries in line with other groups in the district, which is what we've done here. And it allowed for an extension of 1 extra year. I want to thank Rachel Boyce, who's not here. She has some family issues to deal with. She and Matt Marino worked with the team. I met with them originally. They then sat down with them, and I think in a record time of like 20 minutes, we had a deal to move forward and take care of this. So we think it's a good deal for the district and certainly a good deal for our maintenance utility team.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Gobleski,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Lundey,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. That motion passes. All right, item 3A, 2023-24 district goals, just for knowledge of the public. Over the past 4 to 6 weeks, each committee has been meeting, and that was in the previous committee structure, have been meeting to review and establish goals. This is how we also, provide support for an evidence of effort when we're evaluating, the success of the superintendent. And so, several of us met, several different times, in groups less than 4, obviously only groups of 3 plus our administrative partners, and gave feedback, tweaked a few, and really tried to make sure that they were relevant to the work that was being done in the district. I don't know if anyone has any comments to make on those. They are part of the packet, if you'd like to take a look at those, and, anyone have anything in particular?
I was just gonna mention that, and I had emailed about this earlier, I think to Chuck and maybe to Greg. Cause I think you were in the building inside, I had a question, Chuck was able to answer it, so that's good. But, Chuck knows this, I can't help myself but go through and check for grammar and other errors like that, punctuation. So I've already got a short list going, but I'll send all that over for the final version. But the changes that I have aren't anything that would change the intent or the meaning of what's on the page. It's just to tidy it up a bit.
Awesome. Part of those goals was to formulate some structure around our new school resource officers and how we would get feedback, and Kate in her new role, how she would facilitate change and structure within that group. And so really excited for those gentlemen to be a part of our district and you know, provide support into each of our buildings. Any other comments on district goals? One thing I would like the board to consider, just a food for thought, is as we look to measure our success from an academic standpoint, what does that look like? I think we obviously are a very premier district that from an academic standpoint has a ton of success. And so as we're looking at what academic success looks like, our ability to benchmark has been hindered a little bit with the state, correct, Dave? But I think that we still get really good information. We still see really great improvement from our fall to spring testing scores. And so as you guys are looking through those goals, putting a little bit of objectivity around that, I think is really excellent because then we know what we're trying to target. Obviously with several caveats depending on kind of what happens. But please consider that and provide feedback to the team. All right, item 4A.
Sorry, question. Trying to wait my turn here, sorry. So on these goals, is the intent that at the next board meeting, we would officially approve these for the year, or is there a continual refining process basically where we potentially add or subtract goals that we initially adopted?
Mr. Hughes can give us insight, but if I recall, we do vote on them. And then if we need to course correct mid-year or as he gives us updates kind of at end of semester one, we do so. And then do so through committee meetings.
Yeah, you're right. Basically, the way the process has worked, as Megan said, you know, we work for 4 to 6 weeks to meet with all the committees, go over them, ask for input. I think about a month ago, I sent them all out to the board to say, hey, if there's anything you want to talk about, let us know. I think I sent them out a week ago as well, just a reminder plus in the packet. So yes, the intent is discussion item, action item. So between now and then, you probably need to reach out to Megan or reach out to me or whoever you feel comfortable reaching out to, and we'll adjust, okay?
Yeah, I guess with the new assignments, obviously I wasn't part of the personnel committee, and I forget what other one I'm on now, but I think it's finance. So anyways, just wanted to make sure I understood the deadline to get feedback to you by. Thank you for that.
All right.
And I'd like to just add something too. A couple weeks ago, we had a meeting with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion group. It was a good meeting, much better than I anticipated. But I did raise some questions regarding some of these goals, some of these things that we have listed on here, and there were some changes made, and I do appreciate that. I think, Mr. Hughes, you were responsible for the one regarding our hiring demographics, and I appreciated that change. I do feel like another board member mentioned earlier that much of this is done for the sake of appearance. That's at least my interpretation, maybe nobody else's, but I still have some issues with some of these things. But as time goes on, we are going to look at these, we are going to review them and ensure that we're doing things properly, not for making it look like we're some, I don't know, anti-racist district. I don't feel we are racist, so for some of these items, I'd like them revisited more than once a year, and that's all I wanted to say.
Moving on to item 4A, future meetings. Our next meeting is Monday, September 18th at 6:30, right here. And by then, hopefully it'll be a little bit cooler and into fall. Item 4B, informational items. Does anyone have anything? Ready? Oh, item 5, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all.